Good afternoon, you wee bastards, and welcome back to War Thunder with Koala. Today, we're continuing our corrections and suggestions series with the challenge. Yeah, I'm sorry lads, I am not ready to do that video just yet. Soon. TM. What we're going to do is have a quick talk about the recent dev server for patch 1.83, which showed the T-80B getting a BV ERA upgrade module in just the same way that the T-64B already does, and why I personally don't believe things should be done this way. Now, if you haven't yet seen the rest of the series, go check it out at the link in the description. There should also be a card on the screen where you can see the whole playlist, as this video once again builds off of all the previous videos in the series, and the suggestions and corrections made there. So, the T-80B is Russia's current top performing vehicle, and it's about to get even better. Slightly. Or is it? First of all, as we all know, chemical rounds are so rare at top tier, at least between MBTs, that the only real use for the ERA modification will be for a bit of helicopter defense, and that still won't factor in if you're facing the top tier German or American helicopters, as they have enough penetration on those ATGMs to get through your hull and additional ERA protection. For adding this slight bit of extra security, you deny yourself smoke grenades, so it's up to you to decide which one you think you'll need more. I know which one I'm going with. Thing is, the T-80B shouldn't have this modification at all, in my opinion. I mentioned in a previous video that the T-64B we have in game is slightly inaccurate, and here's why. The T-64B and T-64BV are different tanks, even besides the ERA, with slightly different composite armor layouts. The tank we have in game, even back in patch 1.77 before it had Contact 1 ERA, was still already a T-64BV. The T-64B itself would actually have more effective armor than what we have in game, although I can't quite remember whether it's more effective against chemical warheads, kinetic energy munitions, or both. Either way, it's stronger than the inboard armor of the T-64BV. The tank we have in-game has never been a T-64B, which is why I've suggested that the tank itself be renamed to T-64BV, and the Contact 1 ERA modification for it be made a Tier 1 modification, or possibly Tier 2. Our T-80B works the other way around, however. The T-80B and T-80BV are once again different tanks, different vehicles, with noticeably different composite armor arrays. But this time, it's the T-80BV that is stronger, particularly in the kinetic armor department. Actually, its hull would be weaker against chemical warheads, but of course the tank had ERA slapped on, so that trade-off wasn't so much of an issue. Gaijin has said that the T-80B we have currently, as of patch 1.81, is based on the 1983 variant of the tank, the original T-80 being first developed in 1976, and the first variation of T-80B emerging in 1978. This variant has only slight differences to the older T-80B, but it is the one we have. Besides this. This extra plate of road homogeneous armor was added to the T-80B in 1985, when the T-80BV emerged. The reason for this was that given the extra armor of the T-80BV, the older tank now needed to be brought up closer to the newly established standard. It was also given ERA in 1985, it's not like the tank never existed. God, we're not doing another one of them. So, in case you're not following, T-80BV built in 1985. Soviets said, uh-oh, the T-80B is not good enough anymore, and they slap an extra RHA plate on top of the existing hull, retrofit ERA to this tank as well as having it as standard on the new T-80BV, and call it a day. Note, this extra plate wouldn't give the T-80B quite as much protection as the T-80BV's new hull armor, but the difference would be minimal to say the least. So, Koala, if this tank could mount Contact 1 ERA and did so in real life to bring it up to T-80BV standard, what's the issue? Well, my issue is not the tank. God, no. The T-80BV is possibly one of the sexiest armoured fighting vehicles ever designed. My issue is the way Gaijin's chosen to do this, and the limitations it places on us in future. See, Gaijin calls the module in the modifications tab BV, meaning that they're effectively calling the tank with the modification installed a T-80BV, which it's not. Specifically, the T-80B has a 3-layer composite armor design, which is, to paraphrase, steel, ceramics, steel. The T-80BV, on the other hand, has a 5-layer composite armor array, steel, ceramics, steel, more ceramics, more steel. This meant less ceramics overall, given that the new armor array took up the same amount of space, and less ceramics means less protection against chemical warheads. Once again, the ERA more than made up for this almost imperceptible difference. Also, take a shot every time I said ceramics just then, and you'll have a wild time. The extra layer of steel, however, increased the protection against kinetic energy munitions, or in other words, APFSDS shells. The T-80BV modification in-game for the T-80B just adds the ERA without changing the underlying armor array, unless that's changed by the live server, which it could be, but I doubt it, given that the T-80B, as we've said, did mount this ERA itself as well, along with the extra plate, which is on the tank we have in game, obviously, and not on the actual real-life T-80BV. There was no need to have the extra plate and the 5-layer design. It was either one or the other. With this in mind, rather than giving us the T-80B Mod 1985, you can tell this by the added plate, retrofitted with ERA to match the T-80BV, and simply calling this tank a T-80BV, which it's not, I think a better idea would be to take off the extra RHA on the outside of the T-80B's hull. Yes, I'm saying it should have even less armor, not give us ERA this update, and instead give us new shells for the T-80B, specifically the 3BM26 and 3BM29 shells. These shells were both in service by 1983, and considering that we're taking off the extra pleats, it makes sense to give the tank these more powerful shells. The T-80B already isn't the best top tier tank. Actually, of all the 10.0s currently, it's probably the worst by default, besides its access to helicopters, which the Germans don't have yet, and the Japanese still won't have next patch. I'm also not counting Britain and France, as much as I would love to count Britain, because they don't have 10.0s currently, and Italy because, well, yeah. The 3BM22 shell could be the T-80B's new stock shell, while 3BM26 could be Tier 1 and 3BM29 being Tier 4 in the modifications tab. Or the new tank could have just 3BM26, leaving 3BM29 for the T-80BV at 10.3 to have as its stock shell. 3BM26 is a tungsten carbide APFSDS shell produced from 1983 with an estimated 500mm penetration at 10 meters at 0 degrees. This matches the AMX-40, which is a battle rating below it, keep in mind. The 1982 3BM29 is a depleted uranium shell, similarly to the Abrams M774, with an estimated 530mm penetration at 10 meters and 0 degrees. Still lower than the Type 90's JM33 shell. However, I have suggested that the Type 90 move up to 10.3. Keep in mind that these estimates for 3BM26 and 29 are just that. Estimates. They've been calculated by cross-referencing known data on Soviet penetrators, Steel Beast data which is known to be incorrect on this particular front by using 3BM22 as a reference point and simply extrapolating, in-game data on the 3BM15 and 3BM22 shells which is known to actually be correct. Those of you who understand Soviet shells and know how penetrators work will know this, while those who don't, just trust me, okay? It's way too difficult to explain right now, deserving of a whole video just to itself. Hint hint, stay tuned. If you want to argue that 3BM26 is enough for the T-80B, given that we're removing the added plate of RHA only given to it in 1985, then I'd accept that. Let me know your thoughts below. I certainly think this is a better alternative than giving us, to quote Gaijin, a 1983 model tank, but then giving it 2 modifications only seen in 1985, while denying it shells that were developed in 1982. If you take one thing away from this video, let it be this. I do not want Gaijin to add Contact 1 ERA to the T-80B while forcing it to stick with 3BM22 as its top shell. I'd rather see the add-on RHA plate taken off and see 3BM26 and 3BM29 come to the tank as modifications instead, 3BM22 becoming the new stock shell. What this allows is for us to have the real T-80BV with the 5-layer composite armor array and Contact 1 ERA at a battle rating of 10.3, along with, as I've previously mentioned in this series, the IP M1 Abrams with corrected armor and the M833 shell, the Type 90 with fixed armor and shell, as well as our current Leopard 2A4 with a DM33 APFSDS shell, and an early variant of the French Leclerc, sometimes referred to as the AMX56 as well, potentially. The Type 90, if it proves not good enough, could potentially have its reload decreased as well, but I doubt this will be necessary, as that tank is only really balanced at all right now thanks to how significantly its shell has been shafted, without nearly as much angled penetration as it should have, and apparently slightly too much flat penetration. But once again, to discuss this properly, we'd need to spend 10 minutes just going over how different types of APFSDS shells work against different types of armors, which will happen in its own video, but I'm still researching this myself to make sure I have as correct data for you guys as possible. I've I've gotten this wrong a couple of times in the past, I'm not willing to do it again. Now, this T-80BV at a battle rating of 10.3 would not only have 3BM29, but the DU alloy 3BM32 shell known as VANT, with close to 600mm penetration at 10 meters and 0 degrees. Now that's a lot of damage. This might seem like overly powerful ammunition for 10.3, keeping in mind that the IPM1 would likely be left with M833 with over 100mm less penetration than this tank. But keep in mind as well that in every other regard the Abrams is superior. Once again, the IPM1 is currently the best tank in the game, even discounting lineups, even though it still lacks penetration compared to other 10.0s. The T-80BV would still easily be penetrable through even a slightly angled hull, have that infuriatingly exposed carousel, gotta let those turrets fly. It would also lack the mobility and maneuverability of the Abrams at the same tier, and lack reloading rate, while not improving on the T-80B's armour any more than the IP does over the M1's. All things considered, I think this level of firepower is acceptable and balanced. Once again, keep in mind that comparative NATO shells are far better at penetrating angles, while they may look on paper like they don't have as much penetration. Anyway, that's going to be it for this video. I know I promised you lads that the Challenger video would come next, and I hope you'll forgive me. I just had to get this one out of the way, seeing as the dev server suggested we just outright get the BV modification for the T-80B this upcoming patch, which is neither correct nor helpful to me in particular making a video series designed to end with me discussing potential 11.0 tanks, and including the actual T-80BV later on. I think new shells would be a better idea so that we can get the actual T-80BV. Yeah, I've just spent 10 minutes talking about this, I don't need to go over it again. So, Challenger will be next. Oh boy, what even is my life? Challenger will be next, yes. Or I could just keep you lads in suspense forever. Keeps you coming back to watch, doesn't it? Subscribe. On that front, we're going to end this video. I do hope you lads have enjoyed. If you have, please be sure to leave a like, subscribe if you haven't already. We're on the track to hit 10k by the close of this year. Be sure to let me know all your thoughts on this video, what I've suggested in the comments section below. What do you think should happen? Come follow me at all the social media links in the video description, and always remember, keep your bagpipes to hand, your kill tone, and I shall see you next video.